Hi, everyone. Welcome to this is episode two or three? Three of Government Coins Podcast. Y'all, this is so exciting. Last week, we had somebody on to talk about SBIR program and just all around innovation in government contracting. So this week, we're going to have our guests come on and talk a little bit more about some innovative technologies and then also just developing autonomous systems in government, like working with the DoD to develop autonomous systems. But in the meantime, my name is ShaKeia Kegler. I am one of the hosts of Government Coins. I'm also the founder and CEO of GovLia. Hamza, you are on mute.
Name is Hamza Sabree. I'm CEO and founder of Global Connects, and I'm one of the great co-hosts of Government Coins.
And hey everyone, my name is Christlie. I am the founder of the Black Bunker and the CEO of Christlie G Consulting, a human capital firm, and I'm one of the co-hosts of Government Coins.
Yes, so this year, y'all, we decided to take a slightly different approach, and we want to have both business owners and government agencies on board because, again, we're bringing the agencies to you. So what we're going to do is introduce our guest. Our guest today, his name is David Beck. David, can you hear me?
He's on mute.
Oh, yes, you're on mute, David. We are having a few Zoom technical difficulties right now. But in the meantime, I'm just going to tell you a little bit about David. So David is the founder of David, can you hear me? I thought I heard him say something.
No.
Oh, okay. But David is the founder of Hub Venture Partners, and he also works with the DoD. He's a contractor with the DoD with his company Autonomous Directives Ventures, and they create autonomous unmanned systems for government agencies. Now, again, last week we talked about innovation, and this was an important conversation for us to have and to get someone on to discuss because, again, we always want to bring you information about things that we don't realize that government agencies are purchasing or utilizing, right? Because I'll be honest, like I knew government agencies use drones because of my time in the military. What about you, Hamza and Christlie?
Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah, I think the whole point of using autonomous systems is to essentially make the agency more efficient. But I think I've never seen people that look like us be awarded the opportunities to create software or systems, especially based on like security clearance and cybersecurity protection. So I think that's why it's so important to have David on to really talk about like his experience with working with the government.
Well, can you guys hear me? Can you see me?
We can hear you. It's a black screen right now, but let's get it going.
Yeah.
I don't know why. It's this camera. I tell you, it's crazy. Anyway, sorry about the mishaps with communication. I take full responsibility for it. But so as I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you, ShaKeia, Christlie, and Hamza just made a comment about what I do. So I'm a program manager. I work in the government space for the Department of Defense, and I work on unmanned aeronautical systems. But in that particular space, we deal with, can't say much because it's classified, but what I can say is dealing with, aero technology and, and cybersecurity and things like that. But in my own practice and what I do in my own stuff, I do a lot more with autonomous space, land, connectivity between humans and using electronics and using technology via your phone or your software that you use every day and cross-function over to help people communicate. The most important thing I found in being in this space is that it's very wide open. There's a lot of companies now in it from the transportation side. I mean, if you look at every factor of transportation, there are so many companies. They're going into the SPACs, which is special product acquisition corporations, to get public. They're getting a lot of funding on the startup side, and they're also engaging with a lot of investors and a lot of startup companies. I'll pull in a lot of different variety of people. And what we want to do is get more Black and brown people in those areas to make those decisions.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I'm curious to know how did you get your start your company, and how did you get into this industry?
So I've been around transportation for about, I would say 27 years, 25 years, counting college. I did intern at a couple of big companies when I was in college. And what I did is I just forged an understanding that I want to always be about transportation and safety. So in doing so, part of my whole concept was to learn as much as I can about every part of a transportation system. So I started out working in the automotive side. And I spent a lot of time doing lighting, exterior components, like fabricating the front end, the hood, stuff like that for projects. As automotive companies were our customers, and we were supplying components to them. And then I got into the internal side, like the navigation systems, the mirror system with your navigation system in your mirrors, or your systems that tell you there's an object in your clearance, so that you won't have a crash. Collision avoidance type systems. And then I got into the engine system. Last thing I worked in the industry was I did turbos for cars. So every car now has a turbo system in it, because most of them have a smaller engine. But they put a turbo mechanical system on there to increase the horsepower, but keep the efficiency for gas because of the CAFE standards, which are standards that are through NHTSA that govern existing companies to try to save environmental issues by reducing fog and have cleaner vehicles with cleaner technology introduced with the vehicles.
And you said NISTA?
NHTSA, National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
Got it. Okay. I'm going to drop the link in the chat for that, because that's definitely something people can look into when we talk about transportation, especially being that this is one of the areas that we spend so much money on infrastructure. And we just had an infrastructure conversation about an infrastructure bill as well. So I'm definitely happy you're talking about this, but go ahead.
Now, can you see me now? Can you see my picture?
No, we can't see you.
No.
But what I will also add is that I wanted to ask a question. Could you share a little bit more about the autonomous unmanned systems aspect of it?
David, can you hear us?
Share a little bit about unmanned systems.
So, can you hear me?
Yep.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah.
We can't hear you now.
Okay, David popped out again for a second.
Yeah, I think he has some
really bad
connection issues. I think he has connection issues.
Can you join from your phone, David?
It was just getting spicy.
I know, right? I'm like,
I know. I was just like, okay, here he is. He's joining. Yikes. Okay, so I mean, I think it's really interesting to see that someone that looks like us is really in this space, which we have not seen in ever. This is my first time meeting someone in that particular sector. So I think it's important. I think
we can
you
see
left
you now,
off by
David.
saying,
you can see me now?
Yes, and we can hear you.
Can you hear me? Good,
Yeah.
good. Because I was trying to figure out what's going on. So I have two accounts. So I got my phone. Let me get off the. Sorry about that.
okay.
I can get out of this too. Okay.
Okay. But I think, ShaKeia, the last question that you asked was, what is an autonomous unmanned system? That is the question that we have for David. So David, if you can hear us, I just requested for you to unmute yourself.
You guys see me now?
Oh,
Yes,
yes.
Beautiful
this is
hear
it.
and see you.
Yeah,
This is the shot.
my computer ain't working. It's not doing the job. So I'm sorry about that, everybody.
Okay.
Please forgive me for this,
No.
because that background noise is a murder. So yeah, I created my company. I have we didn't talk about my company. So Hub Ventures is a way to get people into tech. I created Hub Ventures to get people Black and brown into technology, so that they can execute themselves into learning about their dreams and getting them into the tech sector. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a person who's mostly has tech aspirations because they have a tech background. So back to your question about unmanned for autonomous systems. So I created Autonomous Directive Ventures as a DBA under my holding company, because I've actually drove autonomous systems. So I'm probably one of the few people you ever talk to that have over 80 hours of driving for autonomous vehicles. Back in 2019, I spent about a month at Argo AI in Pittsburgh. And during that time, I drove their autonomous vehicles. It was a driving position. And somebody tell me, why do you want to drive cars? You're an engineer, you're a scientist, whatever. You love the area, you do a lot more high level working in an area. And the reason I did that was because I wanted to learn how the cars drive. And to drive an autonomous systems is get advice on how, if you're going to buy a Tesla with a full system autonomous adaptation to it, how to engage it, what's the benefits and what's the safety features, and also what's the scary parts of being autonomous driving, right? Using the technology. So autonomous systems technology uses LiDAR. LiDARs are just little small cameras. If you have an iPhone 13, it has a LiDAR in it. And basically what it does is a light emitted diode actuator type of camera that low light areas, it can detect objects and surfaces. And you put a bunch of these together and you put the algorithms in the programming where it can connect them to make a surface feature or a map of a particular area in a very short amount of time. And if you drive the car around, it sees the objects, it sees the path to where it's driving. It's using topography to drive. So therefore, all you do is it's like sticking on a line until it drives down the line. And then as it sees something on the side, it veers away from that or veers toward it using, traffic laws and the regular driving techniques that's programmed into the software.
So it's pretty much, so it's like when we are, let's say, in a Tesla and we're saying, drive Tesla, it's picking up around the vehicle, all the other vehicles and all the bumps and all that good stuff. Same thing like if you have a regular car that's a little bit more modern, that when you put your turn signal, if you're about to approach another vehicle, it like beep, beep, beeps. Is that the same idea?
Yeah, the beep, beep, beep is basically safety warning to say, hey, it's coming up, or you're close, you're within 1 foot or more of the vehicle or the object. So some of the problems with the timing is that there's so many companies doing it. They have different LiDAR systems. But the problem with the timing and LiDAR systems is that everybody thinks theirs has the better advantage. But overall, it's kind of hard to mimic a complete system to mimic a human. You can really tell when you're walking down the sidewalk, you can really feel someone walking behind you. You can actually feel the energy. It's different to have a mechanical device to do that and be reactive as much as we are, because we have a lot of neurons in our bodies, much more in terms of complexity than an average autonomous system does. This simplified approach, they probably have 15 or 20 LiDAR systems on the vehicle, and that might seem a small number or a larger number, depends on the vehicle and depends on the area and the technology or software used to deter the different objects. But sometimes that could be the problem because, I drove a vehicle and a little child walked out. Some systems don't deter under 3 feet. They don't look under 2 feet. It depends if you're driving an SUV or a car, stuff like that. And that's some of the complexities and safety issues you might occur with autonomous systems. But when you're using autonomous buses or shuttles, the whole vehicle is covered with those. So its likelihood of having an incident in a shuttle are less likely than having in a regular car, which goes much faster. And they're much more deterred on changing lanes and turning left and turning right and going around roundabouts and things of that nature.
So how did you marry the knowledge of, the autonomous unmanned systems, having all that knowledge, having Hub Ventures, having the DBA? How did you secure government contracts that really focus on that?
So I don't really do it. Let's be sure. I don't do any government contracts. I still work for the government. What I do is I work in industry, but I do manage contracts in the government. It's totally separate. So I've been a core, which is a contract officer representative for many years. I worked at FAA, and I ran the biggest and the largest basically autonomous program for software called ADSB. Basically, ADSB is a system you put on a plane, and when a plane's flying, to keep the plane from flying to another plane, this device alerts the plane by using the LiDAR systems already on the plane, because planes were the first travel vehicles that have LiDAR systems on it, deter, because they always have to look at the atmospheric pressure, lightning, and the cone of an aircraft. You have everything in there, all kind of electronics in there, a lot of government electronics in there as well for protection of national security. So, including one in the tail cone, and there's an engine and there's some stuff in the tail cone as well. And I worked on that in the previous years in aerospace when I was at aerospace companies. But the reason why is ADSB was in another company, another system, or another program called ACAS was infiltrated by FAA, because you needed to find a ways to deter the same problems you have on the roads. Cars bumping each other, planes bumping to each other too. You never see it on the news, but airplanes have mishaps all over the place for many, many years. So planes do the same thing as cars. They platoon, they get behind each other to land at the airport. And this software was used for that. So that's in the contract side. I did manage that program. It's pretty much done. I think it ran for like 18 years. And most of every single plane in the United States that has that uses software to fly in the United States, mine power plane to a 737 Dreamliner has ADSB units on them, because they're mandatory by the FAA airworthiness guidance, and by the contract office over at FAA to make sure that people are compliant with the airworthiness standards. So that's where I did manage some programs in that space, and doing, and getting involved in that type of stuff. And then I brought that to a private practice as a consultant for ESI when I worked there for about 3 years. And we did work with a lot of different companies. I also looked at litigation in aerospace in terms of complexities and problems with transportation, and where people are liable for stuff that Tesla's going through now, recalls and things like that, when there's an incident and it's not listed as part of the recall. And then I came to the government space where now I work in submarine warfare, but I deal with autonomous, because guess what? You have China, you have Russia out there, and they're on the front door. I mean, Biden just sent 3,000 troops over to Europe to protect Europe just a couple of days ago. So there's always the need to understand how autonomous is very important. I mean, if you put autonomous into a perspective for your home, you can actually buy a drone to guide you, to sit around your home and watch people from leaving and coming in your house, or protect your home when you're away. There's ways to use it to better protection, as well as to guide you down the road, or to keep a plane platooning as it lands at the airport. So contracts are a very important part of that, because contractors do work for contracts, and they do work to build these systems up. So I got my experience with FAA.
David, just before we pass I don't want to leave the conversation of your experience as a contracting officer, because I want to talk a little bit about that as well, just briefly, but to speak to the component of, if these were new systems, like were these newer systems, or have these systems been invented before, or was this a new was this a new project? Like, was it something that was created by the agency due to this contract in particular, or was something that was already created?
So ADSB had been around since, I think, 2007. It takes a long time to get things done in terms of planes. The United States has, hundreds and thousands of planes to get this done. So it would take a long time to get this program to complete. That's why it was around so long. So I'm getting back to your question. I'm losing my train of thought here. I apologize. I like to talk about stuff like this. I love it. So it's a newer program. Some of the stuff I work on now is newer stuff, but most stuff I work on now for autonomous is basically using software or inventions of software in the space to make things more autonomous, where it's fluid, so that if you're using devices or technology for logistics or or robotic in nature, it runs in autonomous way so that you won't have the problems I had with my Zoom today. So autonomously, my Zoom was supposed to connect right on my computer. Now my computer is acting right, and I'm using my phone because my system is not. Everything has gimmicks in it, right? You guys are good to go for your stuff, but apparently here in DC is not working properly. So that's where we got to make an option to get the phone out and start doing the old-fashioned way, right?
Right.
So that's important too.
I have to extend those sentiments because sometimes Zoom acts a little bit crazy, but I think when we think about the aspect of autonomous systems and things like that, I just immediately think like hands-free. I don't have to do a thing, like the little Roomba that sweeps the floor in the house. Like that's the type of stuff I think of. What is it? Jetsons, the cartoon show back in the day, the Jetsons.
That is so ShaKeia, that's where they're going to. But the thing is, there's 5 levels of autonomy. One is the 1950s, 60 cars where you have the manual transmission and manual, everything's shifting hard. You got these big muscles because you got to push these gears to work. And then from the 80s to now, level 2, where you basically have a cruise control. Cruise control is level 2. So if you ever use cruise control in your car, you're cruising down the road, that's level 2, because it's basically keeping the car in a steady path as it goes down the road in a frontal projectile manner. So level 3 is basically using the sensors on your car. Like, okay, your sensors are beep, 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 backing up, going side, or collision avoiding systems. That's level 3. So all those 3 working together would be level 4. So your hands would be off the steering wheel. So the steering wheel is guiding itself. Level 5 would be complete autonomy, what you're talking about. Just, having a coffee and stuff you see people on YouTube doing. That's very unsafe now because there's too many software, there's too many glitches in the system that need to be fixed before people can do that. Tesla has spoiled people with this. And you see Elon had to bite his words because things are starting to come back on him.
That rollback, I think it was like 40,000 vehicles or 20,000 they had to take back. Yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah, you gotta be careful with that. I try to tell companies when they're engaged in software to make sure your software is, I would never myself as an automotive expert say that I fully fledged believe autonomy will solve all our problems for transportation. No, it won't, because you still got to look at, it's people behind programming those cars, right? There's people building those cars. There's people on the sidewalk walking while these vehicles, there's too many obstacles to look at things to be perfectly drawn out. You have to look at it in an educated, safety way. So if it was you driving an autonomous car, you might keep your hands off, but still stay focused on the road and make sure that the vehicle is not malfunctioning because nothing's perfect.
So now that, I think we have a good, this was well explained, because when I read autonomous unmanned system, I had no idea. I thought it was going to be, I just didn't have an idea. But now that we have an understanding of that, I think what's important for our audience to understand is how can they, as small business owners, in whatever sector that their product or services they sell, how can they essentially get into autonomous unmanned systems or into the IT aspect of federal contracting? What is it that the federal government needs from a small business or any business as it pertains to autonomous unmanned systems? What are they looking for? What are they purchasing?
Well, I would say right now, from my standpoint, we do need innovative companies in the government space. We need people who has done the due diligence to prove their technologies out when they get in the government space. opportunities for people, Black and brown people, are very important. I think small business innovation research is a way to get into it, or STTR, which are technical research opportunities. SBRs have been around for about 20-some years. And they're in place to get small businesses involved in research activities. DOE has a really good one for energy stuff. If you're looking at battery electrification for contracts and stuff like that, you have the ARPA-E, which is it's basically DARPA, but what ARPA-E is electricity, electronics and energy. Right. They're over the Department of Energy. They have, you can actually go on their website, arpae.gov, I think, and fill out a form and submit your idea. And if they pick it, you can pitch your idea for energy-related technologies to them. Doesn't matter if you're an individual or a company.
And I'm dropping these in the chat. As he says.
That's a good one. These are good links.
And then I was talking to a colleague at National Science Foundation the other day, and they're looking at opportunities to do like pitch competitions as well with small businesses and stuff to get people into the science and technology area. But I'll tell you another thing too. Air Force Ventures. Air Force has a venture fund where they look at small businesses getting into, working with Space Force and doing stuff to autonomy, because everything in space is mostly autonomy, right? Right. It's driven, you launch it to space and stuff like that. Also, Army Ventures has an opportunity. They have their own venture fund where they're recruiting people to get into and working with the Department of Army and doing small business and stuff like that too. But, from industry to government, what have you, the best opportunity I tell people is to get out there and go to these conferences like SAE and government and industry. We just had this conference 2 weeks ago here in DC. I'm on the board for SAE DC, and we had over 400 participating people have showed up. All of course, Tesla was there. All these car companies were there. Zooks, all these car companies were there because they're looking at regulations and how the government perceiving regulations and in form of infrastructure bill that was just announced a few weeks ago, and what's available for them to do research and activities with universities, high research universities, in collaboration with them. So I tell people all the time, if you're looking to get into the technology space, it's cool to try to go out of a contract, but it's even better to partner with universities and partner with entities who are already in that space to get your foot in the door and see how it is. Because if you go out to a contract, you don't get it, it would deter you from not going out again, because you're putting all your efforts toward one way to get into the space. And right now, from a governmental standpoint, and also from an industry standpoint first, to me, I'll speak into my nets, cyber is very important. So whatever software, hardware, system that you're designing or that you're looking at designing, that you have, you have aspirations of getting into, that is a good way to get into, because cyber threat is very important. I mean, you look at it right now, we're on a Zoom call. Zoom can be cyber hacked right now while we're in the call, because they have measures in place, but nothing is hack proof. So there will be ongoing discussions and ongoing IT iterations and ongoing opportunities to get into that space, create opportunities to make money, collaborate with collegiate universities, collaborate with other Black and brown startup companies or people of color across the board in technology, and get your hands into ways to create systems of autonomy, technology-driven systems, national defense type systems, or just software, IT, hardware updates.
So how would unsolicited proposals play a part with autonomous systems and enter into government agencies to know about the software or solutions that they have?
So there's a site. I'm trying to think of it right now. I got to think about it. Give it to you later. I can't remember. But there's a website.
All the sites. That's what I'm talking about.
Right? I'm like, there's so many resources.
There's a website where you go on. I'm trying to think of the name of the site right now because it got me on thinking about it. I got a lot on my mind, so I'm trying to think. But there's a site you can go to. I might give it to you later. You can put it into on the YouTube channel. But it's a site you go to that has all the government programs that are looking at for people to bid on. So it's a website, and it's free to public. Anybody can go and look at it. And it tells everything in there. So I'm trying to figure out the name of the site. What is it called? Oh, you stopped the recording? Okay.
Yeah.
It stopped recording on my computer, but we're still streaming live.
Oh, so. Okay. So there's a website I gotta look at and see. I'm trying to figure out right now. I might type it in here and see, but trying to figure out the name of it. But you can probably Google it, but I can't do it one hand, but there's a website where it has all the government grants, all the government contracts on it. I'm trying to think, it's like grants.gov. It's maybe another one. Grants.gov may be another one too. But you can go in and look at different opportunities to get into the government space. Like I said, as a startup company, it's very important not to put the horse before the buggy. Gotcha. Or vice versa. Be very smart if you're going to go out the contracts and go after working with anything in the tech space, because the tech space is very expensive. It's not necessary. You go out, and the thing I'll tell you about contracts too, to bring this up, a lot of people approach me about, I'm thinking about, working in the government, whatever, and I want to get in the contract space. I said, give yourself 2 to 3 years to get on the board to get a contract, because it takes time to work those areas, to negotiate and work with people in those areas. It doesn't happen overnight. I mean, unless you have someone who's leading your hand, pulling you through the whole process, that's different. And they have guaranteed opportunities for you, but it takes time, because to prove yourself in that space, there's a lot going on. A lot of people doing the same thing. So just be careful and make sure you have a good strategic plan.
This will be my last question. Well, actually, if anyone has any questions in the chat, on the YouTube channel, make sure you drop them in the chat, and I could definitely ask David. But this one is in pertaining to Hub Ventures. Can you tell us a little bit more, like elaborate how you're working to help get more Black and Brown businesses into the space of technology? Well, not businesses, but Black and Brown people into the space of technology. So let's talk about that a little bit. Let's elaborate on that.
So I started Hub Ventures about over a year ago now. I'm very proud of it. What I did is I thought there was a need to get into helping Black and Brown companies and businesses get start up. So I actually reached out to people, and they reached out to me. I used Clubhouse at first, because I was on Clubhouse talking about, opportunities to help people in the rooms and things like that, throwing gems. It's important. People have dreams and aspirations about starting their own business, but they don't know how to do it. You go to these websites like inkfile.com and whatever's advertised out there, and they charge you a lot of money to do it, but you don't get the understanding of how and why the process is this way. So what I try to do is, if you're trying to go into business, if you're trying to create an opportunity or create a business, I try to figure out, okay, you need to create an MVP or create a business model, but you need to have a strategic plan on how you're gonna run your business. So when I fund companies or fund businesses, I look at, okay, it's not just giving you money to make a product and put your name out there and say, I got this money on the website. It's about, okay, is this a viable product? And I ask these tough questions, because when you're in business, 2 or 3 years of your company in business, well, now you'd be successful to stay in business. So I encourage people, like helping them with the business plan. I help them formulate their company. I help them go out and get grassroots support. There's several websites you can go to right now to get funding, and people donate money, just like donate money for national, for an issue. You see somebody going through a tragic situation, they put money in a GoFundMe. There are also ones for business as well, where you can ask for donations for your business or your invention. So I help them with that process. So right now, I'm probably helping about 32 companies. And the reason I did that, because I don't have millions of dollars to give or to donate to help companies, but I do have a lot of insight in where I can help businesses and help people of color, specifically get into the small business space. So I do it from that side. I help them with the formulation of companies. I also help them with giving them money to proof out their prototypes. A variety of features, not just technology. I've done it for consumer products or companies that do community research and stuff like that too, not just in the tech side, because I think all the businesses have a way of helping us in terms of Black businesses and people of color getting companies started. They all have a purpose, and they all can correlate to help each other. If I'm in technology and I need a company over here that's really good, like Calendry, guess what? A brother down in Atlanta started Calendry. They can help me bring business to my tech company. So everything works together in the same ecosystem, not necessarily the same products, but they eventually will work together if you look at it from that point of view. So that's why I started Hub Ventures. Hub Ventures, I want to have over 1,000 startups created by 2030.
It's gonna happen.
I'm trying my best. It's gonna take money. It's not gonna take just talk and sweat. It's gonna take money. And right now, I got a business partner in Florida. We are about to launch a company in May. I can't tell you the name of it, can't say much about it, but it's a unicorn. Mm-hmm. We have existing we have existing contracts in work with universities, and small entities down in Florida to help facilitate bringing more people into tech. And what I want to do is take Hub Ventures and stick it under that unicorn and have it as an option for grant money to give out to small businesses and companies who are encouraged, show me, pitch me, and ask me to encourage them to get their business funded. Because I think pitching, pitch decks, and write up your company strategic plan is just important as creating a product or service. If you don't have a strategic plan, you don't have a business plan, your company's not going to be successful. Nobody's going to get money and nobody's going to believe in what your idea is.
Yeah,
That's
I'm looking
amazing.
forward to that launch of that new company and getting you and your partner back on here to speak about that as well as a viable option, especially as we continue to talk about, innovation. And we focus a lot on small businesses, but we have to also remember that our small businesses come in different factors, and every single, some focus on creating new solutions, creating new products. Some focus on solving the problems that we're having today with existing solutions that we're already utilizing. So I think it's a matter of seeing them both as opportunities to help, as opposed to just one over the other. And I think that's where I kind of took a shift from focusing on that startup world to like now, I'm really just focused on like my business as a small business and the services that we provide. So it feels like two completely different worlds, but it's really something that we need to be discussing as one. So, with that collaboration, that unison across the marketplace, and, building out technology and solutions, but also not forgetting that services and people push, us forward. So I think that was the importance of, having a conversation around innovation and things like that. So,
well, I'll tell you something. I'll say something else too, ShaKeia. I think it's important people look at when you build your business. Look at your business credit. I mean, there's tier structures now. I don't really particularly like the tier structures set up, and people say they can give you this and help you get this type of business credit, but you have to start somewhere. It's like when you start your business, people don't look at business credit. If you can get your business credit and get those tiers and those businesses involved in purchasing and seeing that you're a viable business, you can actually get money against your business and borrow it to actually launch your business and not hurt it. But that's put you in a situation where you're not relying on investors and people to fund your business and try to take percentages of your business. I tell you to look at that way too. I think good business credit is very important with a good business product and a good business strategic plan. So those three gems are very important for every business owner. Doesn't matter what background you have in tech or non-tech or where you may be in the country right now watching this video. But if you can focus on those three things when you're building your business, that's giving you an opportunity to be successful and be around for another 3 to 5 years.
That's amazing. That's some good 3 gems.
All the way around the board with the gems and information from business credit, building your structure, how to fund your own self and enter into government contracting. I just been writing about a ton of notes just from autonomous systems and really understanding what is the future 20 years from now, autonomous systems, how amplified does that look towards you?
So I see right now, there are also prototypes right now with flying cars, right? There are 5 companies, not UK and Europe, who have created cars that can fly in the sky. What I see is that you get out of your car in 20 years, you have an option. You can get in a car and fly to the moon, to a base, or maybe a space station, or you can get in your vehicle and you can fly down the water and do a trip, an underwater sea trip in like Carnival. Because guess what? Transportation is unlimited. And the next generation of vehicles have to incorporate more than just on the surface of the planet, because everything is global, everything is universal. And the technology takes you there. As fast, you only go so fast on land. And when you take off, you're going faster. It takes that kind of speed and momentum to get up in space. So that's why I see the technology going. Autonomy is going to be like you take a shuttle up into space and you do a moon, you get a space station, you're just doing a tour around the planet. Spend a couple of days in space, maybe a couple of days in the ocean, 2 days in Cancun, and you got a whole great vacation trip. But that's where it's going. And eventually, once we get to a point where we have gotten our technology where it's safe and adequately enough and funded enough, not so expensive to run. We might be on Mars and other places too, but I'll say that's another 80 to 100 years away from me.
Wow, that's interesting. I'm just curious to just see how everything else folds as technology is rapidly moving forward with new systems and technologies that's happening. I'm just excited to see how this world would be in the next 10 to 20 years. And I definitely see autonomous systems playing a big part.
Oh yeah. I mean, you see it now. You see it on the road. I mean, 20 years ago we said they'd be flying cars now. They're not, but they are. But they're not everywhere, but they are there. So things are progressing slowly because you got to look at the cost factor, right? You got Lucid Air. They got their cars coming out, $80,000 for their car. So those cars would be $20,000 in 20 years because guess what? It'd be cheaper to make those type of cars. They'd be mining asteroids outside of the Earth, getting those precious metals to build those electronics in those cars. They won't be going over to places where they gotta mine the metals and fight wars and stuff like that to get them. Space mining is what's coming up. I asked this question 2 weeks ago in a conference. Space mining is there. 10 years from now, I would see some companies space mining. And then you would see where the technology would take a jump up. Because once you get those precious metals to make those display strings, those wire chips, all that stuff that goes into making these autonomous systems more vibrant, faster, more resilient, and then you'll see the technology jump off.
I had 2 questions from YouTube, and then we're gonna wrap it up. But the questions from YouTube, are there any renewable energy opportunities in this space that you've seen, David?
Yes, there's a lot of renewable energy. I think the thing is we got to figure out ways to change, I say chemical engineering and electrical engineering and ways like that. We do a lot of reflective technology with the sun, right? We never looked at using and taking some of the materials and byproducts we have on the planet and taking them and changing their composition to something we can use for vehicles or to use for something to protect or hover more sustainable environments. Right now, we have a lot of plastic material sitting out there outside of California, sitting in this reef. It's been out there for many years. And every day I get up in the morning, I see we use 90% of what I have in contact with my body is plastic. We got to look at opportunities like that to take plastic out of the ecosystem because it's killing us. There are found studies right now where plastic is, most people born now have like 2% level of plastic in their blood level already because we use plastic so much, it's in our DNA. So there are ways we can sustainably reduce the throughput of using toxic chemicals and stuff like that. There's a lot of different food composition and stuff like that that's naturally driven and grown. All you need is water, some basic soil samples, and a sustainable roof type of setup where you can grow your fruits and vegetables on your roof in a hydroponics type of situation. There's so many different options out there we can use, but we got to look at the research too. And the thing that gets me is someone sends a message on YouTube, they got ideas in their head. They want to show the people. And that's why I said it's important. Everybody matters in this space because you know exactly what you think we might need, and the world may need to see it as well. That's why we get these companies started, and people start using ideas and create opportunities.
That's a good point. The other question was around attending Afrotech. David, have you ever been to Afrotech conference, and do you recommend going?
I've heard about it. I think it's a good technology. I think as it resonates more in the African American community, I plan on attending it soon. I think we need to bring more of the autonomous side into it, more of an innovative technology side into it as well.
That's a good point. We had one more question, and the last one was focusing around plans. Do you have any plans to get into any after school programs to teach technology to the children? So I'll let you hop on that, David. Do you have any plans to do that with Hub Ventures as of right now?
Well, right now I've done for 22 or 25 years. I've taught kids about technology. But I think through this company we're doing in Florida, we're going to probably engage people of color more in the space of schools and stuff like that. But my past experiences is with First Robotics. I was a judge advisor with First Robotics. I worked for community teams. I actually used to sponsor at least 3 teams, a team at a high school in Maryland, and then 2 teams around the north of DC area, and one in the south, or 4 teams, one in south of DC, all when I was working in that space for many years for robotics. So I do talk to kids in schools. I am on a board. I'm on a board here in Maryland for a school, a charter school. I've been on the board for 4 years, and it's teaching kids from K through 8. So I am their operations board member. I supplied the school with computers and stuff like that, and opportunities to teach the kids about science and technology. And there's more that we can do because the pandemic has pretty much shortened that. There's more we can do in that space. So I'm trying to work and use some of the stuff I'm doing now to hopefully branch out that to other communities. And just to add more to the flavor of autonomy, recently had meetings with Charger Help and other entities within the Maryland area and DC area to bring charging stations to this area. We had meetings with local people to look at developing charging stations and infrastructure for workplace development, and bringing people from high school and junior high school to get involved and learning more about EV and autonomous driving and stuff like that we talked about today. And then when they graduate, they can go into a workforce development plan and then work instead of going to college. If they go to college, they get a certification with these schools, but the college is working with the workforce development centers in the counties to get them into places making $25, $35 an hour repairing EV stations.
That's a good, this I'm gonna leave it right here, I promise, because we gotta go. We are already over time. But your Florida partner and now we actually did like a class, Code to Eat, a program with the Urban League down here. So now that you are on board, we can definitely work to expand Code to Eat. So I'm excited about this, and we will be having a conversation, David.
And I appreciate it. I want to apologize to everybody out there live. Please excuse me for my video audio problems today. I would love to come back and have more detailed discussions about what we do. And in my office, I have a Zoom call where I can put everything up on a screen and we can zoom to that and give you guys some actual examples of some of the stuff we're talking about in the future. So I do appreciate the opportunity to speak today. Thank all 3 of you beautiful brown people for being on display and showing me and asking me questions. And all the people out there in YouTube land, please, if you have an idea, if you have a thought about science and technology or a business plan, don't let anybody tell you can't do it. Seek out opportunities and try to build something, because every small business starts out the same way. So thank you so much.
David, thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, go ahead, ShaKeia.
I was just gonna add, can you share how people can connect with you before Christlie closes out? Sorry.
Please, if you want to connect with me, please, I'm on LinkedIn. I think if you want to type in at the bar, it's at David Beck MBA. If you're looking for my Pacific page, please follow Hub Ventures on LinkedIn. Follow Autonomous Directive Ventures on LinkedIn, or Cole Chamberlain Holdings on LinkedIn. And if you want to send me an email, my email is david@autondir.ai. Again, david@autondir.ai. And please visit hubventures.tech, autondir.ai, and colechamberlain.com and submit any ideas you have. I definitely, if we do decide to work together, I'm all about business, so I sign an NDA with you, and definitely not here to take your money or your business. Thank you.
I love it. Well, thank you. And ShaKeia, did you get all the contact information? I know she's going to put it in the chat box on YouTube. Everyone, thank you for joining us here at Season 2, Episode 3. Thank you to Mr. David Beck, the founder of Hub Venture Partners, and for just giving us a clear-cut definition of what autonomous systems look like, what autonomous unmanned systems look like. I'm Christlie, one of your co-hosts, founder of the Black Bunker and Christlie G Consulting. Hamza?
And I am Hamza Sabree, founder and CEO of Global Connects and co-host of Government Coins.
And I'm ShaKeia Kegler, founder and CEO of GovLia and your co-host of Government Coins. Do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe, y'all. Okay? Y'all have questions.
Bye.
Thank you.
Right.
Bye,
Thanks.
David.
Bye. Thank you.